Aloha and good afternoon. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, and we're joining you this afternoon from Honolulu, Hawaii, and College Station, Texas. With me is Dr. Peter Tarlow, as always, and we're monitoring the news on eTober News and other publications. And welcome, Peter. How's everything?
Well, everything's good. We usually start off talking a little bit about the weather. Today was supposed to be a warm, beautiful day. It ended up being a very cold day. So I'm wearing a sweater. Um, though it's kind of interesting. If you see in the background behind me, I have the symbol of a tree because today is Tu B'Shvat, which is the birthday or the new year of the trees around the world. And it's a perfect time to talk about the importance of ecology for tourism. And the fact is that if we don't have clean water, clean air, clean cities, then tourism is not going to thrive very well. And so it really shouldn't matter if you're on the right side of the political spectrum or the left side of the political spectrum. This is a symbol of the fact that all industries within the tourism world really need to come together because we unfortunately have mishandled the way our planet works, and we cannot afford to have garbage and dirt and pollution in our mountains, our rivers. We have a clean world is going to be a successful world for the tourism industry. So that's one big issue. Um, Lots have been going on though today. So maybe if you'd like to say a few words about something, and then I'll jump in for some other stuff. It's been International Holocaust Day. Um, Something was really fascinating with the Chancellor of Germany, who worked on a Torah from, I believe, the 14th century, but I'll have to check on that, which was recovered from the Nazi era. And now she's helping to restore it. And so there's pictures of her around the world. And I think that's really fascinating to see how Angela Merkel has learned to unite people from around the world. So that's, bravo to Germany for that.
Well, maybe before we start, Peter, let's do a short summary of today's news. We also cover it here on eTober News, and you can always read the full story in just going to etobernews.com or simply to travelnews.online. That's an alternative website in case you have an issue spelling eTober News. What I know is not that easy.
And you can see us on livestream.tourism.
Yes, but I mean, if we wanted to read the story, that's what I mean, because there are a number of developments, and I'm just going to glance through it. We have Bulgaria making COVID-19 test mandatory now for all foreign visitors. And this seems to be kind of a trend after Seychelles did this, and I think other countries will follow. Also, Dubai tightens entry rules for foreign tourists with mandatory tests. And in the US, we had our first case of the corona version from Brazil, from South Africa, but now also from Brazil. So it looks like there are no borders for corona, no matter how hard you try. And unfortunately, we have to live with this till we all get vaccinated. And that's really our goal. Now, besides this, Ukraine International Airlines resumes flights to Tbilisi in Georgia. Hawaii tourism admitted they have been severely impacted by COVID-19, what of course is no wonders, and we can see it when I go outside to Ala Moana Mall or Waikiki. No lines at restaurants. You can get anywhere, and any parking is widely available. So it's a different world. Interesting enough, the car rental company from Munich, it's under family management, now expanded in the UK in adding van and truck division because the passenger rental car apparently is not paying the bills. Now, World Travel Market is brave. They announced their physical event for August 3rd and 5th in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now, when we hear about what's going on in Brazil right now with Corona, let's put a question mark behind it, but I wish them well, and hopefully we can have a World Travel Market in Brazil this year.
And Jürgen, that reminds me that yesterday Japan announced that they're going to try to have the 2020 Olympics in 2021. but it appears right now the plan is to have the Olympic Games with only the athletes and nobody actually attending the games. And I wonder, one, that's going to be really difficult for television, but two, how much money are they going to lose when you have such major costs of infrastructure and all of a sudden there'll be no sales of tickets. So I guess it's better than canceling the games totally, but it's going to be a real challenge to say the least. And I think not only Japan but also Korea is going to lose a lot of money because of the impact of COVID on the 2020 now postponed to 2021 Olympics.
Yeah, and we just don't know where this all goes. And Olympics, I've been part of the Olympics back in 1976 in Montreal, and after all these years, I tell everyone this was the best time of my life to go to the Olympics. It's so sad this is happening, and I guess we just have to live with this. But today,
as you know, I've worked on security in 3 Olympics. Those in Utah 2002, in Canada in 2010, and then in Brazil in 2016. The amount of preparation, the amount of money that goes into preparing, and you will start working almost 10 years in advance, is incredible. So, of course, the television viewer or the person attending only sees the end result. They don't see everything that takes place at the back of the house, to use a tourism term. And if that doesn't happen, all that effort, all that work just went down the drain. So,
well, it's it's
very sad.
what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
From Italy, Mario has sent an article in what is quite interesting about the Alitalia brand. You know, Alitalia has restarted under a brand new airline. Nothing, I guess, of the old airline is part of the new airline, but now they're in the process of allowing to keep the name Alitalia because it is such a historic name. So I wish they would, because everyone, when you think about Alitalia and airline, you actually think about Alitalia. So that's a good thing. Well, that's in a short summary what we're covering. Besides, Skoll International has a new executive board. Turkey's Pegasus Airlines launches service to Moldova. So there's a bunch of news, but nothing really.
I didn't see today if there are any more riots in Holland. I don't know if they have been made. They
haven't made the headline, and I'm sure there are protests, but
yes,
hasn't made the headline, luckily. So hopefully,
I think you're going to see more protests around the world taking place as people become frustrated. And on top of that, the other thing we're seeing in lots of cities around the world, is including London, New York, Los Angeles, is a rise in crime. And that may be also because the people, well, there's many reasons for crime. This program is not sufficient to go into all of those, but we are seeing a rise in crime. And again, tourism doesn't do well when people don't feel safe. And so if they don't feel safe for either reasons of health or safety or security, those are going to hurt the industry, which right now is very much down. One last thing I think we might want to talk about a little bit is economic security. In today's news, the big news, of course, is the whole issue of the hedge funds and the fact that investors literally declared war on the hedge funds. And then at the last moment, they changed the rules of the game. And when they changed the rules of the game, this has created fury. What's fascinating is that this is the first time we really see it, the first time in a long time, we've seen people around the world from both the far right and the far left, from the right side of the spectrum and the left side of the spectrum, coming together, all condemning the what appears to be the fixing of the game in Wall Street. And why that's important to tourism is one of the companies they wanted to destroy was Hilton Hotels, which is certainly one of the leading hotel companies in the world. As a matter of fact, one of the hedge fund people got on and said hotels would become a thing of the past and trying to get the stock to go down. But the other side of it is if people don't feel confident with their money in the stock market or afraid, that's going to be another nail in the coffin of why people may not travel. So we're not looking at it from an economic perspective. We're looking at it from a tourism perspective. And of course, tourism needs people to feel economically secure. It needs people to feel physically secure. It needs them to feel health-wise secure. All those come together. And it's really going to be a challenge for leaders in tourism to break through when, God willing, everybody's vaccinated and we have herd immunity. So there'll be new challenges once everyone is vaccinated. It's going to be an interesting few months, and we're going to be in a real roller coaster ride, I'm afraid.
Yes, I can see that. And you're lucky. You're getting your second shot, aren't you?
I am. I got my appointment for February 3rd. So that will be my second shot. It's the Moderna vaccine. And people tell me that I didn't feel anything after the first shot, but I'm told after the second shot, a lot of people don't feel well for about 2 days. And so not to plan anything of major consequences for the 4th and 5th of February, but hopefully the antibodies kick in about 10 days after the second shot. So hopefully around the 15th of February, more or less, I should be raring to go and I can be back in the world traveling. The question will be, will they mark our passports or will we have to go through COVID tests even after we have been vaccinated? And I don't know if anybody has the answer for that yet.
No, it's I can see, because with so already now 2 or 3 countries requiring the vaccine as an entry requirement, it would make a lot of sense to put it in your microchip on your passport,
Yeah.
or have a page, maybe like an old
Something like a
page
visa.
stamp.
That they stamp a visa on your passport, like, so when you present your passport, you present the fact that you have been certified for having been vaccinated. I sure hope so, because it's going to be a pain to have to carry certification with you wherever you go. But you know what? I'll do that too, because I'd much rather carry a piece of paper than be in the hospital. Uh, the head of the Mexico City Tourism Police was just for 10, really, I think it was 10 days, seriously ill in Mexico City. And I'm really glad to be able to report that he's now on the mend and back into function. I'm hoping that when he feels better, we will be able to give him a Hero of Tourism Award, because he's worked so hard on creating good tourism for all of Latin America.
Yeah, and one person who already is a hero, Cuthbert Nikubi, he was also the head of the African Tourism Board we both work with. He's down with Corona. We all wish him well. And we haven't heard from him, but it's a little bit worrisome. So we hope he's recovering. And South Africa has been hit after all. It was quite weak in the beginning of the outbreak. Everyone was hoping this would be the end of it, but unfortunately it wasn't.
As a matter of fact, there's a new strain of the flu, which is called the South African strain. So again, that's scary. So I guess the real issue is wash your hands, take your vitamin D, take your vitamin C, have your zinc, social distance, wear a mask. I don't know, we're going to have to wear 2 or 3 masks, but at least wear a mask. And try to stay healthy, try to stay well. And remember, we will get through this one way or the other.
Yeah, there is a fairly safe way to travel. We hear about it after a message by our sponsor, Sandals Resort. And you will hear about private jet travel. We hear from a lady, she runs a private jet company out in Maryland. And stay tuned and don't miss our last segment before we say goodbye. But from our end, I wanted to say thank you, Peter. And
thank you, Jürgen.
We see you again on Monday, I guess, because
yes, today is Thursday, right?
Coming up.
Yeah, so we'll be back on the air again on Monday. You have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and smile.
Same to you. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, we are back now, and we're welcoming Jessica Nauer. She's with Grand View Aviation in Maryland. It's a private chartered jet company, I believe. And she said charters are not only for the rich and famous, and it's quite interesting during time of Corona. If you wanted to observe social distances and privacy, I mean, what better way to go is on a private charter. Hi, Jessica, how are you?
Hi, good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell me more about this. You guys sent us a press release in regards to what charters are doing. We talked to, I think you talked about humanitarian aspect. You talked about Corona and said it's not all that impossible to work with guys like you, even if you, if you're not in the upper 10, but maybe in the upper thousand or something.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, we've definitely, over the last year with the pandemic, we've certainly seen a lot of new customers that want to social distance. So they fly privately. So they just have less exposure to as many passengers on board. Plus, we do all sorts of things like, special treatments of the aircraft every leg to protect them. But what we've really seen is an increase in the amount of organ transplant flying that we're doing. In spite of people not really traveling for personal reasons, the show must go on for the organ transplant community. So a heart only has about 4 hours outside of the body that it can be kept for and actually transplanted to another human. So a private jet becomes this incredible time machine that gets that team of doctors and the organ moved at just lightning speeds to save lives.
Wow. So if you do this, how long does it take to get a jet ready and you guys going? This must be going fairly quick then.
Yeah, so we're a private jet company, but we really started doing these missions before we did anything else. So we have 24 hours of crew members on staff ready to go at any time when we get a phone call for these trips. So, for example, here at Martin State Airport, if you called and needed a heart picked up in, let's say, New York, I'll have an airplane there for you in about 2.5 hours from the first phone call to when we're actually on the ground.
Wow. And all your flights are going from one, you mentioned a specific airport. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember it.
Yeah, our headquarters is here at Martin State Airport, but we actually have bases all over the United States now. We're turning into a national operator. We've got planes in Chicago, Arizona, you
Right.
name it. We probably are near you.
And besides the humanitarian efforts, you also, of course, transport passengers. And when you transport passengers, what type of passengers do you guys transport? Is it politicians with a lot of money, or who,
Yeah,
or executives?
it really comes down to there's two components to it. It's the time value of money. So whose time is it worth to actually fly privately versus flying commercially? Then there's security concerns. So we do fly politicians because they can't just be on a commercial airliner with hundreds of people. It's a bit of a security risk, so they need to fly privately. But then also just there are some people who fly just for fun, but I would say the vast majority of it is security based, or these days health based because they don't want to be exposed to a lot of people.
Right. And when you're talking about security based, I think we did a story a while ago before Corona broke out. There is really the TSA requirements are a lot less. You don't really have to go through all the checks going on a private jet compared to what you have to do going on a commercial flight, correct?
Yeah, I mean you literally pull up to the side of the aircraft with your car and you walk on and you're up in the air, a couple minutes later.
Wow. And so when you guys were the planes you're using, how far can they go? Because before we started, we talked about maybe flying to Hawaii. That's where I am. But he said no, we wouldn't make it that far.
I wish we could. So we like to call ourselves like a mini Southwest model of private jets. So we operate small jets that seat up to 8 passengers. They can go about 1,600 miles, which if you had to think about it, it's probably like New York to say Jackson Hole. That's about as far as we go. But
Okay.
Hawaii, unfortunately, is so far offshore that we would not quite make it there.
But you could go to the Caribbean, for example, right? So if it comes to leisure travel, so if someone wanted to charter a plane, and I know we work very closely with our good friends at Sandals Resort and the Ministry of Tourism for Jamaica. So this could be a destination someone could charter a plane and just enjoy a week at one of the Sandals resorts, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we do Turks and Caicos, Aruba, Bermuda, but we can get there for sure.
Oh, wow. Now, when it comes to humanitarian flights, besides transporting organs, you also do medical evacuation or missions like this?
We're authorized to do that, but we don't carry passengers because our airplanes are really configured for like VIP charter, so we don't have
Okay.
passengers or anything like that. It's really an executive interior, but the nice thing with the organ flying is that there's no medical personnel needed. It's literally just a box or a couple surgeons going with the
Right.
box.
And so you're not a broker, as to speak. You have your own aircrafts.
Yes, we own and we operate our airplanes. We've got 12 aircraft today.
Oh, wow. Okay. And all these planes, they go about 1,600. You can go about 1,600 miles around. So most we had a story also a while ago from a similar company in Europe. I think they were based in Switzerland, and what they were doing, they were offering flights on one-way jobs to get people back for a fraction of the price. Because they already got paid already, so it's like money you don't take in. You guys do transports like this?
Yeah, we do. So we actually have a membership program. It's free to join, and you earn miles just like an airline. And part of that membership means that you get alerts on our empty flights. So we send those out, and if you want to grab that empty flight from here to Palm Beach, then you can do that for a much better price than the retail cost.
Wow. So how can you find your membership program?
Yeah, you just go to our website, flygv.com, and there is literally a membership button right there, and you can check out the program.
So it's flygv, like G like in George, V as in Victor.com.
Exactly.
Well, that was very interesting, and thanks for what you're doing with humanitarian flights. That's what we need. We need people like you who can make a difference. And maybe one last question. We are talking, of course, about COVID and the dangers in traveling with COVID. What precautions are there in place going on a charter flight? How much safer or less safe or more safe is it to travel on a charter flight or on a charter jet compared to a commercial jet?
Yeah, so there have been a lot of studies done in the last year. I think the last study that I saw said that when you fly on a commercial airliner, there's around 800 touch points potentially as you're
Right.
going through the airport, touching bags, touching things. So when you fly privately, that's reduced to under 100 touch points or even less. And different companies, like what we've done, for example, is there's a biostatic spray that you can put inside of your aircraft. Essentially, it continues to actively kill viruses that touch it, which is pretty neat technology, but it's quite expensive to apply. But it generally lasts for about 90 days when we apply those treatments, and we've been doing that every 90 days since it started.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jessica, for being part of our little team at DTV. And I wanted to just say for everyone else, thanks for watching. And this broadcast, like always, will repeat for the next 12 hours throughout our various channels, eTurbo News, live stream, and so forth. And if you ever feel like coming back and hear what Jessica said, or you forget the website, flygv.com, you can always go to livestream.travel and you find our archive. I wanted to say thank you again, and we see you all tomorrow, and aloha from Hawaii, and good evening, Jessica.